Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the latest episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., A Life Earned. And they did a good job in this episode advancing the plot forward, giving us kind of more information about what's going on, and giving us a cool little twist at the end. So we start off and we see Daisy and Cassius talking. Cassius pretty much giving Daisy the lowdown of how he has saved humanity and everything, and that her being here is bringing his plans to fruition. And her going, well, you've gotten my blood, as we see her seeing her blood being drawn, and she wants to know what he wants her for. And he's going on about how humanity still clings to their gods and their fairy tales, and that Quake's one of them, and that there's another fairy tale of S.H.I.E.L.D. coming from the past. And he starts kind of putting two to two together with Gemma having skills beyond her station and no marks on her wrist, and Quake showing up, going, well, that's kind of a little bit weird. And it's funny, him going, well, can I call you Daisy? Because it's a little less formal than Destroyer of Worlds. And he goes, I think you're here to help me. And because she's here, that's drawing a lot of people, and that she'll fetch a good price. And she goes, well, why would I go along with that? And he goes, well, your friend has such a pretty face and everything. And, of course, threatening to harm Gemma. So then we get to Coulson and everybody kind of working in Grill's crushing area. We see Maze there because trawler runs have been put on hold. And they're okay, well, we finally got more information into my agents go missing, so we're going to have to kind of find out more information on them. So as they're talking, Grill comes by and, of course, zaps Mac because he thinks it's funny and says that everybody needs to work triple shifts because we need all the iron for Cassius to sell. He says everybody except Mac. So he takes Mac aside. He tells him that there's this dude Gunner that owes him tokens and that he wants him to rough him up. He's waiting for a package from level 35. And if he's getting tech or whatnot from the Blues, he doesn't like that. And he goes, well, since that's roach food, you're the best that I got, so go for it. So then we go back to Daisy and we see this dude sparring with the Thai guy who was helping Abby. And he's really pretty good. And we're going, okay, so he's got some moves. And, of course, Daisy's standing next to the food tray, and he's explaining that they grow the meat here, and she's going, well, that's a lucky guess, or you can read minds. And he goes, well, kind of, I can hear them. And saying that that's what he got after Tyrion Genesis. And, of course, Daisy goes, oh, that's how you're able to anticipate his moves. And he goes, well, it's kind of rude to read people's minds. And he goes, well, it's hard not to hear him. It's going that he more hears people's thoughts rather than actively going into people's minds to get the information out of them. So this introduces a pretty kind of interesting Inhuman that'll be pretty helpful, I believe, going forward. And he goes that it's a relief when they turn it off. And then, of course, he gets the inhibitor turned back on. And Ty goes, well, everybody out except Daisy. That somebody wants a special private viewing. And then, of course, we see Cassius and Basha waiting to see what's going on. So, of course, we get back to Coulson and Mac. And Coulson's like, well, you're going to have to rough up this Gunner dude. I know you kind of really don't want to, but if you take Yo-Yo, you could probably talk some sense into him. And everybody's going, wait, why are you sending Yo-Yo with him? Well, he's already lost two people, and he's going to finally take Mac's advice and having Mac go, finally, all right. And they're going, well, just be back before Grill, and since this presents an opportunity, we can check out level 35. May's going, well, we don't have any intel or any weapons, so that's going to be kind of hard, but Phil goes, well, I know a guy. So we switch back to Daisy, and she's trying to talk to Tiger. What? Fight for entertainment? For profit. Cassius is. And they want a demonstration. And of course they turn off her inhibitor. We see another Kree guy come in. And she goes, well, what if I don't feel like it unless you got peanuts? And he goes, well, you better get in the mood because they'll probably hurt your friend up there. And she goes, okay, fine. And then quakes him across the room. And he's like, that's not what I meant. They inhibit her again and they grab her away. So then we get to Cassius and Basha is really impressed, going, I didn't know that you had to destroy worlds in your stable. Of course, Cassius is playing it off nonchalant. Oh. don't worry, we're going to have a host of traders and everything, highest bidder kind of thing, and since we usually talk price over dinner, and you like to dine on your own ship, you're probably not going to be interested in coming around for that. And pretty much dismisses her when she was trying to make a preemptive bid. She looks pissed off and kind of storms away, and it's kind of cool to see how the power dynamics kind of work within this future between the Kree, other alien races, and what Earth has become on here. So I really like how they're able to play that off. Cassius, even though he's a villain, I like what they're doing with him. He's multi-dimensional, that he's not just a bad guy. He knows he's in a weird situation, and he just wants to get out. Granted, he has to do horrible things to do that, but it makes him deeper than just a mustache-twirling villain. So, of course, with Lady Basha gone, we see that Deke is still there and wants to talk to him about payment, and he goes, all right, here you go, and presents him a coin, and he goes, wow, that's rhodium. He goes, okay, you have an eye for high-value metal, and that's worth more than all the credits upstairs. So evidently Cassius lives on the kind of lower levels, and as you go up, it gets to the kind of crappier levels. And, of course, he starts going into, well, you found Quake, and she's a time traveler if you get into any other ones. Sonara's concerned about the prophecy, and talking about how they can be interpreted. It could be 2 S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, it could be 20, just kind of keep an eye on it. He goes, well, that's kind of sucks because you killed all the people that would have known about it. And he goes, yes, life is full of regrets, and I think Cassius actually does regret it. He understood that he needed to eliminate these elders in order to more effectively control the population, but in doing so, he has cut himself off from an avenue of information about what could be coming. So it's kind of cool seeing that. So, of course, we see Deke leave, pretty much saying that he's going to kind of see what's going on. We then get to Daisy waiting for the mind reader, and pretty much gets the lowdown of what's going on, telling him how the fights are. Daisy then understanding that this guy and the rest of the humans understand it, and that they need to keep doing this to have their families compensated and taken care of. That it's more for survival than anything. Of course, Daisy wants to break this system because it's wrong. And he's going, well, if you do this, our families will pay the price. And I just suggest you play the game. And if we are pitted against each other, you better try and win, because I'm definitely going to. So then we get to Deke coming out of the elevator, and Coulson grabs him, and he's kind of shaken up, going, well, why didn't you just do it politely? He goes, hey, alright, just wanted to say a few words. And of course he lies about Daisy and telling them that she was going dark. Was able to kind of convince them, at least a little bit, saying things that Daisy would say. And of course they bring up level 35, and of course Deke doesn't know too much about it. He knows that like 4's holding, 17's engineering, but of course they lay down that they need to investigate the surface, and then plays the voice. And Deke looks really kind of shaken up. He looks really surprised that he hears that voice. So he goes, okay, those people are supposed to be dead. And he gets a fire kind of within him going, listen, it is in everyone's best interest that we link up with those guys. So, okay, they're really important. Let's see what keeps going on with that. So then we switch over to, we see Gunner walking around. We see Mac and Yo-Yo kind of getting into it. Mac trying to voice his displeasure at Yo-Yo for sending up Zev, but of course she's going that we had to do that. And Mac's trying to say we don't want to lose ourselves like Fitz did in the framework. Yeah, this is different because it's real. And you're like, yeah, we mess up here, there's no do-overs or anything. Even though there was no do-overs really in the framework either. And, of course, they just keep following him around. Yo-Yo telling more about how she learned that they need to use the fear here because that's kind of what the city she grew up in. And we, of course, then see Sonara taking something like a soldering iron for a dude and keeps going on. So then we get to Cassius, and Gemma's kind of watching and waiting, and, of course, He says that he's thirsty, so she goes to get him a drink, but then Sonara comes, grabs her, she breaks the glass with the water, and she throws down the soldering iron. It's like, alright. So, we are looking at Cassius and Gemma, and Daisy's brought back, and Cassius wants to know the truth. And going that this isn't a relative concept, it's not subjective conceit. He's disappointed that you would lie or conceal the truth. Talking about the person that pretty much leaning into the whole thing with May. Because Sonara going, okay, somebody tried to help this person. That's probably another time traveler, and these two have not discussed that. Because they bring that into it. And the biggest thing he's doing to get the truth, they bring in the mind guy, and they uninhibit him to allow him to get the thoughts. And of course, they're like asking her about the woman that she didn't know a lot of people that was there. Of course, the mind guy says it's the truth from both of them. Daisy's looking relieved and shocked because this guy's kind of more going along with them, pulling it over on Cassius. And of course, and a very smart move, and it's very subtle if you don't really look out for it, because Cassius knows that Gemma can't hear them. But he stands in front of Daisy, and pretty much Daisy lays down this scenario where Fitz had went off the rails, Gemma was in love with him and needed to talk. They both went to a diner, they both got grabbed, and they woke up here. And then he goes and asks Gemma the same thing, but she, interestingly enough, is able to pretty much match Daisy's story. And the mind guy pretty much goes, hey, they're telling the truth. And it's going, okay. It's really interesting to see what they're trying to accomplish, because that enters something kind of different, because you're thinking, okay, how was Gemma able to know what was going on? So they, of course, re-inhibit the mind dude. They kind of take Daisy away. And Cassius is talking with Sonara, saying, listen, I know I share your concern, but you're not the only one working on this. So there are other agents involved working this, because, of course, Cassius isn't just going to let this go. There's probably other time travelers around here as well. So we get to Deke, Coulson, and May, and, of course, it's not simple to get to level 35, so they have to go down to level 36. Deke's able to get in and bring them up, and they're kind of going through level 35. We get to Daisy talking with the mind guy, going, hey, what kind of happened there? And he relays the information to her that, well, I didn't just get the ability to read minds, I was also able to kind of project his thoughts to other people as well. So that's a pretty cool thing that he has not told anybody. So that's what he did to let Simmons know what's going on. And of course, he's kind of freaked out because he's going, that was the first chance I was able to get in a room close enough to read Cassius' thoughts. And that one of them was shame and that he hates this place. And then after the whole ceremony and everything, he is going to destroy this place and destroy everyone on it. So everybody is at stake. And he's going, well, if you're as powerful as he thinks you are, and you're as powerful as you know you are, we got to do something. So Daisy's like, all right. That's what I was waiting for. We've got the fire. It's pretty much endgame time. If this goes through, everybody's going to lose. So we're going to have to do something. So, all right. Cool to see that Daisy's going to be getting a little bit more involved because everybody's at stake. So we get to Gunner with Mac and Yo-Yo. And they're going that like Grill sent us. And Yo-Yo, of course, is playing the good kind of cop, saying, hey, listen, you just gotta watch out, otherwise the big guy's gonna get angry. And then we get to Deke and the rest of them. They're just kind of looking through the place. And of course they see a Kree scientist, but they hold off until he backs away. And this is what happens, is that they kind of keep splitting between what's going on. At first we see, well, with the whole Mac and Yo-Yo thing, they're pretty much giving the shakedown to Gunner, saying, listen, you owe a lot of credits to Grill, just pay him off and nothing's going to happen. Mac, of course, goes up saying that, listen, you're going to get a package and it could disappear. We could throw it in the crushing mill and everything. And of course, Gunner's just beside himself, that's a monstrous move to do. And of course, Mac doesn't understand what's going on because he had thrown the stuff that Gunner was gathering on his way to his quarters. And Yo-Yo's looking down and we see baby things. And of course, once the Kree scientist was going around and they were looking around at level 35, we find out that the package was a baby. So, of course, Gunner starts berating and calling him a violent thug and just used to death and everything, saying that he doesn't deserve a child and that he'd be a bad father. This, of course, sets Mac off. He starts punching the crap out of him, and then Gunner's like, oh, I was right. And, of course, Yo-Yo pulls him off, and they kind of go off for a little bit, and that's kind of where we're left off. Of course, we then get more information from Deke going, oh, so this is what's going on. Well, Coulson's going, well, newborns are a commodity? That's kind of weird. And he goes, well, people don't get pregnant anymore. I was one of the last ones born the old-fashioned way, that we think that it's in the food, that they sterilize them, and it's better to have them created because science wants to increase the chances of them turning into inhumans through Terrigenesis. And once you start hearing it that way, it makes sense. It's not right, but if your ability to get off the station is to acquire wealth and power, and the way to acquire wealth and power is to have Inhumans with super strength and all different kinds of abilities, you'd want to increase the chances of that. And if you want to control the population and make sure that you have enough food, you would kind of control the herd kind of population. It's really kind of weird. And Coulson going, wow, the vibe has gone completely full dystopian on this. And it was just interesting seeing that going on. But of course, while they're talking about this, May has found something on the computer and finds that Daisy's in the database, pretty much just proving Deke's lie. And of course, they start taking him out. They punch him a little bit, and they're going to interrogate him. But as they're trying to go, a couple of Kree show up, and we get a pretty cool fight scene that May's able to pretty much take on by herself. But in the process, Coulson and Deke gets stabbed by one of them, and of course, May and Coulson finish him off, and they have to separate, Coulson taking Deke to get him patched up, and May holding off whoever's coming next. And of course, the person that does come next is Sonara, using her balls. And she, of course, sends him at May, and May just... This was a really cool fight scene. It just really showcases, even though May is wounded, how much of a badass she is. Now, granted, she is not able to completely take down Sonara because Sonara is a Kree and is stronger and has more stamina and everything than May, but she gives her a good run. She's able to dodge the balls and everything. Gives some good whacks in on her, but of course, it's not good enough. Sonara's able to grab her, flip her on the table, and then kind of put her up against the wall and has only one ball come back to her. I don't know if there's any significance to that, but we'll have to see if that does going forward. So we get back to Coulson and Deke. He's able to get the bleeding stopped and everything. He hits him again for another measure because they were wondering why they needed Daisy, if it was for breeding or anything. But, of course, Deke's more trying to serve his own purposes more than anything. And, of course, he's trying to get into why he did it. Because, listen, yes, I did it to save myself and to profit and make sure that not a lot of people were killed. And he goes, well, why do I need to trust you? Well, it's kind of weird to hear that voice. Well, he gets into his whole thing and is like, listen, I know what the Kree can do. When I was 9, my mother was taken and killed, and the rest of the elders, the smart people. And because of my mother going, my father then took up the cause, and I begged him to not do it, and of course they sent him to the roaches like the rest, and he goes where it was weird to hear his voice. I kind of had a feeling that it was going to be that kind of father-son thing, or like grandparent, and it's going, okay, this might be enough to get Deke completely invested and more on Coulson's side, going, I don't just want you to succeed, I want to be there when you do, and of course Coulson, rightly so, is not that trusting. He goes, well, that's a pretty good story, but I think it's just better if you're out of the mix at the moment. So he leaves, and they weld him into that room. Of course, he has had Yo-Yo out looking for word from May, and of course they don't get anything. And what they have done is because Deke also handed over Cassius's payment of the coin to kind of gain some more trust, but of course they use that to pay off the debt for Gunner, who now has the kid, and goes, oh, okay, that's cool. So, one of the last things we get to is Mac and Yo-Yo talking, Mac wondering if he's a good father, and I like this about his character. He is one of the more kind of normal kind of people on here. He of course is an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., but he really kind of gets into the heart of what his character is, of being a dad, and he's wondering, it took me weeks to take down the stuff from Hope's nursery when she didn't even come home, and I'm losing it over the death of the fake Hope from the framework, and he's wondering if Gunner is right for him being a monster, but of course Yo-Yo goes, listen, you are a great man and you're a great father because you can feel this, because it's tearing you up, because you loved your daughter, your real one, and the one that you had in the framework, and that you aren't really a monster, that he pushed his buttons. He hit the right combination to set Mac off. Okay? Saying that he would be a bad father and that he doesn't deserve a child when that's completely wrong because of what kind of guy he is, how loyal he is, how he will do anything for his family and for his friends. He just hit him in the right spots. But of course, they get kind of finished talking about that, and Grill comes up and kind of has to go, hey, you're twice the beast that I thought you were because Gunner paid me. And he's just saying you fit right in here. And I like the kind of duality that they did that, being like Yo-Yo saying, listen, we can get out of this, you're a good guy. And of course Grill, not understanding how they actually did it, and did it in a way that didn't involve really doing that much violence, were able to pay off Gunner's debt. So we'll have to see how this works out, because Max should be in more of a survivalist mode, not completely crossing his own moral lines, but now Grill likes him more because he's been able to achieve a result that is highly desirable to Grill. So he could get more confidence with him, understand more of the workings of the whole White House, and potentially use him to help further the agents' cause in getting back home. So, we get to a cool kind of moment, kind of that has a nice Star Wars moment in this part. So, of course, we get Sonara to come into the room. Cassius is talking to the people, going, alright, here we go, saying a few words about what's going on with the exhibition, and, of course, we've got an Inhuman that we thought was gone. They bring in Quake in chains, and of course, the Destroyer of the World's gone. Some lucky person will leave here with her and enrich that patron's life. And her power will be your power. So are there any requests as we begin? And this one dude comes up, and he's like, if she's the Destroyer of Worlds, and then he takes off the mask, and we see that it's Fitz, that he says that she should fight to the death. So that's a big reveal. Very kind of reminiscent of Leia and the Han whole scenario. I really liked how they did that. It didn't feel forced or anything. It felt really organic, and holy crap, Fitz is here. How did he get here? What's going on? And of course, the preview showed that we will find that out in the next episode, and I wonder what Fitz's game plan is, because he's probably been waiting for this kind of moment to have he probably knew that if Daisy was found out to be Inhuman, or potentially Yo-Yo, that it would get to a place like this, and this would be where he'd be able to make his move. I'm wondering what he's been doing and going on about. It just opens up a lot of possibilities, and I can't wait to see where they take Fitz and what he has had to have gone through to get to this point, and how he's going to be able to help the team get back, because there's no way he would get here without having a plan to attempt to get them back home. So, that was like, yeah, alright. I honestly did not expect Fitz to be back this soon. Even, like, in the future even. I thought he would be working at it from the past end, and that we would get a kind of split perspective with him doing something to get them back and them trying to get back as well and kind of meeting in the middle. This kind of just throws a nice little curveball. Okay, what's going to happen next? So, those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.